I have to admit, when I first saw the title of the document we're looking at today, I was a little skeptical.
I can imagine.
It's called Technology Meets Spirituality. And, usually when you put those two in a room together, the result is, well, it gets a bit fuzzy.
Oh, yeah. It's often a case of vibes over substance. You hear things like, the internet is a global brain, which sounds nice,
Mhm.
but it doesn't really help you understand how a server farm works.
Exactly. Or a neuron. But this document, it's something else entirely. This isn't poetry. It's like an engineering schematic.
It's very structured.
It takes blockchain, probably the most rigorous mathematical tech we have right now, and claims it's basically a digital clone of ancient metaphysical laws.
And not just kind of like it. The author is drawing a direct one-to-one parallel.
Right. It's a bold stance.
Yeah.
The whole premise is that we haven't just invented a new way to store data. We've accidentally built a working model of the universe's operating system.
Which they call
Raita. That's a Sanskrit term, right? I've seen it translated as cosmic order, but that always felt a bit passive to me.
It is. I think a better way to think of it is less like a tidy room and more like the fundamental laws of physics and causality all rolled into one. It's the background code that keeps everything running.
And the argument is that blockchain is the first thing we've built that mimics the structure of Raita.
Precisely. It breaks it down into 5 key pillars.
Yeah.
Identity, records, management, execution, and continuity.
And we are going to walk through all 5 because honestly, the parallels are pretty eerie. But before we get into the tech, I think we should just frame this. We usually think of spirituality as soft, maybe forgiving.
Personal, yeah.
But blockchain is cold, it's automated, it's immutable. If the universe really is built like a blockchain, that changes the whole vibe.
It takes the personality out of it. It suggests a universe that is, on one hand, incredibly fair, but on the other, terrifyingly efficient.
Okay, so let's start with that efficiency. Pillar 1, identity. In any system, you have to know who is doing what. In blockchain, you don't use a name, you use a hash.
Right. And just to be clear for everyone, a hash isn't just a random ID. It's a cryptographic output. You take any piece of data, run it through a specific algorithm, and it spits out this unique string of characters. That's the hash.
And the key thing is how sensitive it is. If I change one single comma in a whole book,
The hash changes completely, unrecognizably. It's a perfect digital fingerprint. Now look at how the source maps this to the concept of Atman, or the soul.
it calls it the vibrational signature, I think.
Yes, or consciousness signature. The argument is that every living being, every Jeevatma, has this specific frequency that is mathematically unique to them.
This is where I kind of got stuck for a second, because in our world, things overlap. DNA is shared, people can look alike, but this is saying it's absolutely unique.
It's what they call collision resistance in crypto. The odds of 2 different inputs creating the same hash are, they're statistically impossible. The source applies that to the soul. It says, despite billions of species, or yonis, and countless lifetimes, your source file never mixes with anyone else's.
So no spiritual cross-contamination.
Exactly. And you can see why that's so important, right? If we were all just some, soup of energy, how could consequences attach to specific people? The soul hash is what lets the universe track your karmic account through all the chaos.
It's the only way to make sure my actions stick to me.
Correct. You hold the private keys to your own hash, no one else can sign a transaction for you, and you can't accidentally get stuck with someone else's karmic debt. It's a closed loop.
Which brings us to the next part. If I have this unique ID and I'm doing things, where does all that data go? In crypto, it goes onto the ledger.
The famous Immutable Ledger. This is really the heart of the whole comparison.
And in the spiritual model, this is Chitragupta. Now, I know Chitragupta is usually shown as this, like, deity with a big book writing down everyone's good and bad deeds.
Which sounds very mythological. But the source strips all of that away. It's not about the image, it's about the function. It connects the ledger to Akasha, or the ether.
And Akasha isn't just the sky.
Not at all. Think of it as the recording medium of the universe, the cosmic hard drive.
And this drive records everything.
Every thought, every action, every intention, it all gets written to the chain. But the really critical part isn't just that it records things, it's the quality of that record. In blockchain, once a block is verified, it's immutable.
You can't hit the backspace key.
You can't delete it, you can't edit it, the file's uncorrupted.
See, this is where that idea of an automated universe starts to feel really heavy, because in our human systems, we negotiate. We say, oh, I didn't mean it that way, or let's just forget that happened. We rely on memory being faulty.
But the source says the Akasha has no delete function. It's uncorrupted. That's the specific word used. The file stays that way across lifetimes.
So if I did something awful 10 years ago, or maybe 10 lifetimes ago, that entry is still there.
Mathematically locked into the history of your chain.
That feels, I don't know, unforgiving, like you're trapped by your past.
I can see that. But look at the flip side. In a system where records can be deleted, powerful people can hide their mistakes, they can shred the evidence. In an immutable system, truth is preserved. But to your point about being trapped, the source offers the blockchain solution.
Which is what?
You can't erase a bad transaction. The only way to fix it is to execute a new transaction that counterbalances the first one.
You add a new block.
You add a new block. You can't erase the debt, but you can add a credit. You overwhelm the past data with new data, and you change the trajectory of the whole chain. It's not about wiping the slate clean. It's about actively building a better future state.
It forces you to do the work. You can't just say sorry. You have to transact.
Action is the only input the system recognizes.
Okay, so we have the ID, the hash, and the record, the ledger. Now, where does this whole system live? Because the big selling point for crypto is decentralization. There's no single bank vault.
Right. There's no master server in a basement somewhere. The ledger is distributed across thousands of computers, these nodes. Every node has a full copy of the truth.
And the source compares this to Sarvavyapi?
Sarvavyapi, omnipresence.
I think when most of us hear omnipresence, we picture God watching us from the clouds like a big security camera.
That would be a centralized model, a client-server relationship. The source says, no, that's not it. It argues for peer-to-peer theology. The divine isn't in some cosmic head office. It exists as a witness, a node inside every single particle.
Every particle contains the full software. I remember reading that.
Exactly. And think about what that means for security. If God is some external judge, you could maybe hide, go into a cave, turn off the lights. But if the node that validates your actions is located inside your own consciousness,
you can't get away from it. You can't fool the system because you are the system.
or at least the system is running on your hardware. There is no outside to escape to. The transaction is validated at the point of origin, and then it's synced with the network.
That's a huge shift in thinking. It means we aren't being judged from on high. We're self-validating every moment.
And that sync is instant. It's why the system is unhackable. To cheat karma, you'd have to corrupt the witness inside yourself, which is, well, impossible.
So that brings us to the how. How do the consequences actually happen in a system like Ethereum? You have smart contracts.
My favorite parallel, because it demystifies fate. A smart contract is just code. If X happens, then Y automatically happens. No lawyer, no judge, no middleman.
It's purely causal. Input equals output.
And the source describes the law of karma, or karmaphala, as exactly that, a cosmic smart contract.
This goes back to what we said about God not being a micromanager.
Yes, this is a massive theological point. The source says the system is automated. God isn't sitting there deciding, okay, you get a promotion, you get a flat tire.
So God is the architect, not the king.
The architect who wrote the original code and let it run. It's like electricity. If you touch a live wire, you get a shock. The electricity doesn't decide to punish you. It just follows its protocol. Karma is just as neutral and just as automated.
That's both comforting and terrifying. The universe isn't out to get me, but I also can't talk my way out of a consequence.
You can't appeal to the feelings of a smart contract. You can only meet the conditions. If you want a different result, you have to give it a different input. The power is entirely on the user.
Okay, so if I'm writing these inputs day after day, eventually the hardware, my body, gives out, I die. But the blockchain doesn't stop just because one computer shuts down.
And that's the final pillar. Continuity, the chain in blockchain.
Right. Every new block contains a reference, a hash of the previous block, creating this unbroken chain.
The source connects this directly to reincarnation. It sees your current life as the current block.
And my next life is the next block in the chain.
Yes. And the new block has to carry the data forward. The source makes a great distinction between the hardware, the physical body that gets discarded, and the data chain, which continues.
It brings up the term samskaras.
Right, samskaras. You can think of them as the cached data, the state of the network that carries over. You are not starting your next life as a blank slate.
Which is a huge misconception, I think, that reincarnation is a totally fresh start.
It's not a fresh start. It's a continued session on new hardware. You are the sum total of all your previous blocks. The tendencies, the debts, the credits. The hash of your last life is the starting point for the new one.
So death isn't the destruction of the data.
Not at all. The source says death is merely the end of a block. The moment it gets hashed, sealed, and added to the permanent chain. The file is closed, a new one opens, but it references the old one.
It reframes the whole fear of it. It's just a protocol.
In this divine blockchain, nothing is lost. That's the quote from the text. It's the ultimate backup system.
This whole deep dive really makes you look at ancient wisdom differently. We tend to think of it as superstitious, but this suggests they were systems architects.
It suggests the logical structures we're just now discovering in computer science aren't things we invented. We just uncovered them. They're built into reality. We're finally building tech that looks like the universe we actually live in.
It's like we finally built a computer that can run the simulation of the soul.
Or maybe as our tech gets more advanced, it just naturally starts to look more like the truth of how things work.
So let's bring this home for everyone listening. We're all generating data constantly.
Every moment.
And according to this model, every thought is a transaction. Every action is being hashed and added to your personal immutable ledger.
That uncorrupted file.
I keep coming back to that. The fact that you can't hit delete, it puts so much weight on the present moment, doesn't it?
It does. But that's the point. It isn't meant to punish you. It's designed to make you conscious. If you really truly knew that every single interaction today was being permanently recorded and would set the starting conditions for your next life, how would you act differently?
I'd probably be a lot less petty in traffic, for one.
We all would. The awareness of the cosmic smart contract forces you to align your inputs with the outputs you actually want. If you want peace, you have to code peace. You can't code anger and expect the algorithm to spit out happiness. It's a syntax error.
It's a syntax error. I love that. You just can't cheat the code.
Yeah, cheat the code.
Well, this has been a real paradigm shift. I'm going to be thinking about my next block very differently from now on.
It's an incredible synthesis, a digital metaphor for something timeless.
So here's a final thought for you to take with you. The source stresses that while your file is uncorrupted, it's always open for new entries. The chain is never finished. So if you're looking at your current block and you don't like the direction it's going, just remember, you hold the private keys. You're the only one who can sign a new transaction. The only question is, what code are you going to write next?
That's the only question that matters.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you on the next block.